Since 2020, annual energy prices in the UK have soared from £1,000 to over £1,800 for a typical household.
A difficult winter last year depleted global gas stores.
We will set up Great British Energy.
We're dependent on those fossil fuel markets controlled by petrostates and dictators.
The question is why? Why does Britain continue to have one of the most expensive electricity prices in the world? Every time you boil the kettle, binge a Netflix series, or charge your phone, you're using electricity. Behind that simple cost per kilowatt hour you see on your bill is a high-stakes auction that happens every 30 minutes. Here's how it works. Energy suppliers buy electricity from generators, like wind and solar farms, nuclear stations, gas plants. These electricity are bought on the wholesale market. They line up the available power options by their operating cost, starting from the cheapest. This is the marginal cost stack. Wind and solar, once built, they're free to run. Nuclear is next with cheap uranium sources. Batteries don't cost much to run, but they seize the opportunities to grab those high prices at hours of high demand. But gas? That's where it gets expensive. Think fuel, carbon taxes, and maintenance. National Grid accepts the increasing bids until supply equals demand. But here's the kicker. Everyone gets paid the same price as the most expensive bid. This means the electricity price is dictated by the gas price. But why is this expensive gas being used still? It's true that in recent years, the UK's national priority is to speed up the build-out of renewables, with solar targeted to near triple and wind double by 2030. However, the sun doesn't always shine, and the wind doesn't always blow when we want them to. Our electricity usage peaks in the evening when many people come home from work or school, cook dinner, turn on heating or cooling. But solar generation peaks at midday. This mismatch creates what's known as the duck curve, a graph of total demand minus solar production over a day that looks like the profile of a duck. The belly of the duck appears midday, when solar generation is high and demand from the grid drops. The neck rises sharply in the late afternoon and evening as the sun goes down, but electricity demand rises. This steep ramp-up in demand from non-solar electricity puts pressure on the grid, which must quickly scale up other power sources to fill the gap. Sometimes, wind energy is available then, but the grid can't transport it from Scotland to England due to constrained lines, and the energy source gets curtailed. Enters gas power plants. The UK relies on gas plants. The issue is UK imports 50% of its gas, which means its energy supply is at the mercy of global politics. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, gas prices in Europe exploded as Russia cut off its supply, and prices have since remained higher than before. To other countries, for example, France, where nuclear often sets the price, the UK is more exposed to gas volatility. In the UK, gas sets the price of electricity 98% of the time. Even if gas power stations only make up a small part of the generation mix, it dictates the electricity price. So, what's the solution? 1. Build more renewables, most importantly the network to transport the power. The UK needs to quickly and efficiently build more renewables to reduce the periods when gas set the price, alongside developing the grid network to transport power from the north to demand centers. The country should also develop projects which co-locate solar with batteries. Instead of wasting the excess electricity that is generated by solar during midday, that excess power can be stored in grid-scale or home batteries. When solar output drops and demand spikes in the evenings, batteries discharge electricity back into the grid. Adding nuclear, which runs day and night, isn't affected by the weather and has very low running costs. Though, yeah, it's expensive to build and not everyone's a fan. Hinkley Point C has been delayed to not begin operation until post-2030. The UK has just announced a $14 billion in building the Sizewell C power station, and it's been pretty controversial. 2. Fix how prices are set. The UK's electricity market was designed back when coal was king and renewables only made up 7% of the grid. Today, they're closer to half, but the pricing system hasn't kept up. In 2022, the UK launched a big review of electricity pricing. Right now, it's down to 2 options. Stick with the national market or switch to regional zones where prices vary by location. Some companies like Octopus Energy and governmental organizations including Ofgem are pushing for zonal pricing, but others, especially renewable developers, warn this will decrease investment confidence and increase the cost of capital and distract from the real issue, gas. So next time you wonder why your electricity bill is so unpredictable, remember, it's not just how much you use, it's how much power is priced and how reliant we are still on the gas. The good news? Reforms are happening at this very moment, and the UK government is having these key conversations with the industry to build a cheaper, cleaner, and more secure system.